Have you ever felt stuck in your growth journey, wondering how to build resilience in the face of challenges?
Or maybe you're looking to shift your mindset and unlock your full potential.
Well, if you said yes, then you are in the right place.
Welcome to the Stretch Zone. I'm Hannah.
And I am Feds.
And here we explore self-development, nurture resilience, and embrace the mindset shifts that help you grow beyond your limits. Hello and welcome back to the Stretch Zone podcast. I'm Hannah and I've got Feds in the room.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. How are you doing today?
I am good. It's been a very busy and challenging week. It's tax week. So you can imagine, but it's okay. I prefer to be busy than bored, so I can't complain. And I'm recovering from Christmas. So
yes, when we're recording this, Christmas has happened, and it is back to the grind.
Yes, yeah.
Back to the
absolutely. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Like I said, it's just sort of straight back into action this week. I'm burying my head about taxes. Leave that to my husband to figure out.
Fair enough.
Yes, we are talking about today the stories that we tell ourselves. And isn't that interesting how I just then was like, yeah, my husband can sort that out. There are certain things that I have allowed him to take control of, just like I take control of in my relationship. He's just really good at numbers. This is the story that I have told myself, because someone is better in my relationship at numbers than I am, then I might as well just bow out. I should know more about it. But isn't it interesting how we, through life, categorize ourselves? I'm not good at numbers is one of them, right? And especially when I'm around someone who is good at numbers, that just reiterates the story that I tell myself. I'm not good at numbers. And we're talking today about the stories that we tell ourselves. All of us do this. It could be... and if we're talking specifically about moving, for example, or languages that we like to talk about, maybe it's I'm not good at languages. We've talked about that one a million times before. Maybe it's the idea that I'm behind everybody else. Gosh, I've had so many conversations with some of my girlfriends who are like me in our 40s, who seem to think we're all behind everybody else. Even my friends in their 50s are actually saying the same thing. That one's an interesting one that we all seem to think. Maybe you're someone that has had to... and I'm using inverted brackets, inverted commas here, for those who aren't watching, given up your career because you've had to move somewhere, right? And saying giving up your career might be really true. It could be that you've had to give away a certain career because you've moved. Is that a baby or is that your monkey in the background? Monkey being your dog.
No, there's nothing. It's basically Monkey's bed. That's where Monkey.
No, I can hear
sleeps.
like a little noise, like a baby.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh! Maybe she's crying outside. Poor thing. Oh,
I was like, Feds, what have you done over the last 3 weeks since we've seen each other?
No, she. I can't hear anything. Honestly, these earphones
are
crazy.
Earplugs in. That's funny.
No, yeah, exactly. So, I think probably there's one of the dogs crying outside. Oh.
So anyway, many of these stories, they run in the background of our brain and play out, and they can shape how much risk we might take, how much we might push ourselves, how much we might sit back in life. And most people think that these stories, such as I'm not good with numbers, are absolutely factual. We kind of take those through life as truth. But actually, usually it's a mix of memory, emotion, fear. There's loads of factors that come into play. Maybe it's laziness. I'm not good with numbers, can't be bothered. I'll have someone else do it. I'm probably just being a bit lazy, to be quite honest with you. And I'd love to know a little bit more of the sciencey side of things. Why do we as humans do this? Because it's definitely our brain that is telling us something, and is it possible for us to change how we think about these stories?
We can definitely change our personal narrative, like everything, like we've talked about this multiple times, like neuroplasticity, and we can definitely develop and change. Like naturally, humans are meaning making machines. Like we do it intentionally. We don't just experience events, we interpret them, and we turn them into stories to make sense and to understand who we are and how life works, right? So this is something that we always do naturally. Now, the problem is the interpretation. How do we interpret what happens to us? So we could have a very negative interpretation, or we could have a more resilient and growth focused interpretation. So when you were talking about numbers, you could see it in two ways. You can either say, oh, I'm terrible at numbers, I'm not even going to try because I know that I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
And this kind of story makes you feel probably a little bit powerless and a little bit stuck, like there's no solution to this. I have the same relationship with maths, so I completely understand that.
Yeah.
And other people may say, well, yes, it is challenging. It is something that is out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to learn something, and eventually I'm going to make it. Yeah. So that shows that you have a completely different interpretation of the story. Now, we talked about neuroplasticity. Your brain is not set in stone. Whatever is happening today, when you change the story you tell yourself, you're not just being philosophical, like you're not just telling yourself different words. You are training your brain to something different. And this is something that people often overlook. Like when you repeat new thoughts, new words, and new ideas, and then you act on them, because that's the most important thing, you create new neural pathways. So you're technically training your brain over time, and the new story becomes more automatic, right? So of course, you're not going to become amazing with numbers from one day to another. We are talking about time. In the same way, it takes time to tell yourself a story through events, experiences, memories. You're not going to change one day to the other.
Yeah.
You need to give yourself the time to experience something different. Now, if you sit down and you tell yourself, oh, I'm great with numbers, not much is going to happen, because deep down internally, you don't actually believe what you are saying. And this is important. When you want to change the narrative, let's keep this number example, right? Because it's easier to understand.
Yeah.
You need to start from something that you actually believe. So in my case, acknowledge the fact that, yes, it is challenging. Yes, I've never really had teachers who were able to teach me in a way that my brain understands.
Yeah.
But I do have a choice, and I can say, right, it is challenging, but I am going to find a teacher that is suitable for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that there is someone out there who must be able to teach me the way my brain can understand.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can continue telling your story and reinforce it through the experiences that you have. So once I find a teacher that is suitable for me, I'm going to go ahead and say, right, okay, so this calculation is challenging, but I can try a few times. And if I can't make it, I can ask my teacher again, and I can try and understand it in a different way. So you have to act on your stories. If you just sit down and say, oh, I want to become a millionaire, well, it's not really going to happen, is it?
Yeah.
So I wish.
I wish. That's what the lottery's for, right?
Now, the problem is that, of course, old stories are very stubborn.
Yeah.
And this is due to cognitive biases. So, it basically the idea is that once you believe something, you will find confirmation everywhere around you.
100%. Yeah.
So, how often have you tried to look at taxes, numbers, and stuff? And how often have you told yourself, no, 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 I'm actually not good at this. I'm not even going to try. So you are looking around you, and all the things you see, your brain filters out anything that goes against what you already believe. And we do that all the time. Um, One thing that can be really useful is visualization. And the first time I did this exercise with one of my clients, she was like, oh my God, this is magic. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's something very practical that you can do, but it feels a little bit weird at the beginning because when you vividly imagine yourself, to you, it may feel like fluff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But actually, your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a real event and something that you are just visualizing and vividly imagining. So your brain activates similar patterns to the real experience. And this is actually the best thing you can do to try and rewrite your story in a way that makes it become more positive, for instance, more constructive. You're not just daydreaming, you are training your brain to become different. You're changing your brain. Um, you're not going to believe the story at first 100%.
Mm.
Like that's normal. But once you start working with repetition and you need to be emotionally engaged, you need to believe that you can actually do it, that's when the results are going to come, not before, of course. Um, what is your experience with this?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried?
Yeah, it's really, I was just sitting there thinking about things in the way that you've just described, and I really love the idea, and I believe in it too. It's something that I've probably forgotten about for a while, that whole visualization side of things. I, as a kid, used to be a bit of a performer, what you believe, and used to be on stage playing my musical instruments, and then I was in quite a few of the school plays. And, it's just going back to that. Initially, it's so scary, the idea of being out there on stage and learning all the lines. And here I am, someone that's dyslexic, thinking, how on earth can I learn all of these lines? But somehow, I had enough passion and drive and
Exactly.
motivation, which is important, because let's face it, if we've got to work this hard for everything in our life, then it's going to be slow progress,
Mhm.
and we're going to have a lot to do in our life. So we are selective in life about what it is we want to put all that energy into. And yeah, just thinking about it from that concept, I would have to visualize myself performing, visualize myself being able to say those words out loud, and then physically act it out. This is not quite what you're talking about, but I like to learn in a very visual way. I am
Mhm.
someone that learns through action, and I
Mhm.
love that you can bring the idea of visualization into your learning.
Yeah.
And just the idea that I'm not good at something, of course, we all have those ideas. I
Yeah.
remember not long ago, I would probably have labeled myself as quite lazy. And I don't know where
Mm.
I got that from. I think it was just that I saw lots of really hardworking people around me. And hardworking being that they were, progressing in their careers, that kind of stuff, I think. So there was definitely an element when I was just traveling around the world and being yoga teacher that I probably thought, well, I'm too lazy to do more or to have a better career. I think that's where this concept of laziness came from.
Mhm.
And now I would absolutely never label myself as lazy. It's
Yeah.
definitely been through probably working more at my career. So I don't know where I got this story from, that if you have a career that is seen as a career that people are like, wow, okay, that's a proper career, then you're not seen as lazy. Whereas being a yoga teacher, or for some reason I had this lazy label that I gave myself. It could be that when I first, do you know what? I think this is where it developed from. When I first moved to Australia, I remember quite a few people asking me about what I did, and I would say I'm a yoga teacher. And a common thing that they would then say is that it? And it would be something along those lines. They would always expect that I would be a yoga teacher and something else, which I get, because of course, financially, how the hell are you supporting yourself? The reality is my husband was supporting me. I was paying for all of my things, but he was paying for the bigger stuff. And that, very old fashioned, but that's just the truth. And we've got our reasons for why we were doing that. I was in a lucky position where I could do that, but I certainly wasn't lazy, because I was taking the fair share of all the housework, fair share of all of the very traditional sort of types of things that I guess women do at home. So I certainly wasn't lazy, but there was this idea that, well, I should be doing more. Anyway, these days, I definitely don't call myself lazy. I've gone on a bit of a tangent there.
That's okay.
What about you? Can you remember anything that you have labeled yourself as, or had this long-standing story and you've managed to shift through?
You see, that's interesting, because I've always been quite adventurous when it comes to hobbies, passions. Like, I never say no, right? So I don't get too scared when it comes to trying even things that I don't necessarily feel I'm good at. Um, but I don't think I've ever actually intentionally shifted, like, let's say, math, right? So actually, no, I do have one example. It's not mathematics, but it was accounting when I was at university. I didn't intentionally want to prove that I was good with numbers, but I had to study. So I didn't have any choice, right? And I had a professor who was really good at explaining things. And finally, I understood that the problem was in my brain. It was what I was telling myself.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think the hardest part is being aware of why there is a problem and what the solutions are. Before I met this professor, I really thought that I was the problem. I kept on thinking, oh, well, it's me, right? I am not good enough. I am not talented. I am not good with numbers. My brain doesn't really work like that. So I gave myself all of these excuses without actually stopping and thinking, right, I've never had a consistent study plan with my mathematics. I changed 2 or 3 teacher per year while I was studying. Yeah, no, it was crazy. Like, I think I've had like 30 maths teacher in my school history. It was crazy. Yeah. And so how do you expect someone who probably already struggles a little bit with numbers to fully understand a subject, right? And I've had people telling me the exact same story, but with English or with other languages, for instance. So, but I didn't notice, I didn't think about that. I was telling myself a different story. I was telling myself you are not good enough, you are not putting enough effort, you are just not talented enough. And then when I met this professor, and I realized that I actually managed to get a distinction in my accounting exam.
Wow.
So, I mean, I managed to do pretty well with numbers. And I thought, well, probably what I was telling myself, what I told myself all of this time, it was the wrong story.
Yeah.
The story is different. The story is you can do it. You just need to find the right person to teach you, to guide you, to coach you.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's where most people get stuck. They don't notice that there could be another narrative, another story.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd actually love to help some of the listeners at this point to like just really think about a scenario in their life. And I'm going to offer just a little coaching scenario to anyone that's listening here and see whether this lands, because it can be a really useful tool to play with when we're just really stuck on the story that we're telling ourselves. So anyone that's listening here that's feeling, and I'm going to use, because most of our listeners are people that are shifting through a big change in their life, such as relocating, moving overseas, or they're trying to learn a new language, those sorts of things. So they're sort of pushing themselves. So let's think, first of all, about the particular story that you're stuck on, something that you've been telling yourself for a long period of time. So for me, that example was I'm lazy. So just bringing that into your mind, what it is that you have been telling yourself for a long time. And it could be some examples more than I'm lazy, I've ruined my career, I feel behind, I'm bad at languages, bad at numbers. For those who are listening, it might be relevant at the moment, I don't belong anywhere. And then have a think about, well, when did this first appear? So again, I was thinking about when I first moved to Australia, people kept asking me, and that was triggering something for me. Is that all you do? So when did this story first appear for you? And have a think about what was happening in your life at that time. And it could be that you were starting something new, maybe as Feds was talking about back in the day when she was learning maths, she just kept having a new maths teacher every couple of months, so couldn't find her way with having continuity. Can't say that word. Continuity. That's the word.
Continuity, yeah, that's right.
So once you have that in your mind, we're going to start to separate the facts of the matter with the meaning, okay? From the meaning. So, for example, when I moved to Australia, it was important for me to not have a 9-to-5 job. In fact, it still is important for me to not have a 9-to-5 job because of what my husband does. It's important for my family unit to not have a normal 9-to-5 job in an office. We move too much. So that's the fact. So does that mean that because I don't have a career in an office that looks really prestigious, that I have failed or that I am lazy? Is that a fact? No, it's not. So just try to think what is actually factual about the story that you've been telling yourself. And then see if you can also see the difference between the interpretation. Again, going back to my example, is that all you do? People outside of me not knowing the whole story, is that all you do? Interpretation from an outsider's point of view. That isn't fact, that I am lazy. So it could be then that you rewrite that story in that moment. My rewriting of why I don't have a 9-to-5 job in an office is I am basically a nomad. We move every couple of years. It is not worth my while getting a new job in an office every couple of years. I need a job that I can take anywhere with me in the world. I need a job that I can do from anywhere in the world. That's fact. And just seeing how that kind of lands with you once you've figured out what your fact is compared to the interpretation. And just see how that kind of sits with you for a moment. And you might check in physically how that sits when you've rewritten, reworded. Fed's fact is, once she got herself a maths tutor that worked for her learning, the way that her brain learns, she actually got a distinction in her accountancy course or whatever it was that you were doing. So I'd love to know if that was a little useful moment for anyone that was listening in just differentiating between factual things that happen in our brain and the interpretation and that storytelling that we tell ourselves.
Can I just say something about the factual part? I think for some people, it takes a while to actually be able to understand what is factual and what is not.
Definitely.
Right. And for example, when you said, well, just because I don't have a prestigious office job, does that mean that I'm lazy? If you have grown up and if you were born in a family where everyone has a prestigious office job, then you may feel that, yes, you are lazy, right? So you really have to push yourself to look at things from a different perspective. And you want to find examples that confirm the opposite of what you believe. So in this case, it could be find people who are happy and satisfied with their life. They feel accomplished, even though they don't have an office job. Because if all the people you have around yourself are office managers, CEOs, entrepreneurs, then of course you're going to be like, well, but I'm not like them. Yeah. So I must be wrong, right? So you really have to get out of your comfort zone and look at some examples that confirm also the opposite of what you believe. So you go outside of your confirmation bias.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Really good advice. Yeah. Yeah.
And let us know. As always, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube at the Stretch Zone _podcast. And let us know. Let us know your ideas. Let us know your thoughts. Share this episode with anyone you think maybe benefit from it. I think it was a very interesting conversation today. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to know if anyone is living inside their own story at the moment that they're trying to break through themselves. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks, Feds. That was cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Wrapping up today's episode, remember, you don't have to face change alone.
If you'd like to connect or learn more about working with us individually, reach out to us through our Instagram account at @thestretchzone_podcast or find our emails in the footnotes to this episode. We're here to support you on your journey, each in your own way.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Stretch Zone. If today's discussion resonated with you, remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with anyone who might benefit. Until next time, keep stretching beyond your comfort zone.